can I get this infinite experience to stick? Is a frequent question that I get. So we may have some experience and there's clarity, there's freedom, there's lightness, there's union, whatever it is. There's some experience where we know we're not alone and we know we're not just this body. And then it seems like the world returns. Now, somewhere deep inside of us remains the knowing. So we can actually sink back into, what did I know at that moment? What was going on in my head? How had I let go? How was I perceiving the world? What happened in my heart? How did I open? How did I expand? How did I release? What happened in my gut? How did I relax? How did I trust? We can actually explore what was that knowing and find it back inside of ourselves. Now, at the time, it might have felt like, well, that knowing just came and it just happened. It took me over, some people might say. Well, it was the inner being that we are that was expressing without all the extra layers. Any experience we have is coming from what we always are. So that deepest knowing is still inside of us. We just layer it on. So, for example, if you close your eyes, you still usually will feel the world around you. Whatever kind of world that you've got imagined. We may imagine a world where I can't share certain things about myself because I will get judged. Or I have to please so-and-so in order to get the money that I need. Or I have to, prepare for this event because these negative things are inevitably going to happen. Somehow, our world is colored by these thoughts that we have. These ways we think we have to protect ourselves. Or these attachments we have to where we want to get to. And they seem like it's a maneuvering we have to do. We've convinced ourselves. So even with our eyes closed, that's the world we're living in. This world of thoughts, this world of ideas, this world of efforting and protection. And it's a lot of work. So if we unlayer all of those thoughts, we unlayer all of that protection, we'll return to that which we've always been and what was shining so clearly in that moment. Now, the unlayering may seem like, oh, that's so much work. I can't figure out where to start. And some people are attached to that spontaneity. It was so easy before. I didn't have to do anything. Well, that's true. We don't have to do anything. It's the doing of all these additional expectations that is causing the weight. That's the work. The constant expectations we're living into and applying to our world. That's actually exhausting. But returning to this that we are, the unlayering, the letting go, that's a precious journey. It's actually enjoyable as we just take it little step by little step by little step. All we have to do is just find one expectation. One. What expectation do I have of myself that I'm hoping for? What expectation do I have around safety? What expectation do I have around money, around relationships, and check and see, how essential is that? Is it worth our joy? I just gave several examples about, thinking we have to work in an uncomfortable way to get money, or thinking that we have to maneuver ourselves in order to please somebody, or thinking that we have to strategize in order to be safe. Whatever means of protection we think we've got to do. Or just simply thinking that that experience is so far away, when none of that is true. So gently just notice the cost of having the belief, and try the opposite belief and see if it isn't equally true. I don't have to work so hard to make money. I don't have to please that person. I can let them free to have their complaints with me and just go about what's authentic. I can set the other person free. They don't have to be tied to my need of their approval or in the protection. I can do what's apparent and simple and let the rest be. I don't have to have all this preparation and planning, and just take care of what's here before me and let the rest be. Can that be true also? So as we open up to how we may be missing the benevolence around us, there's a lightness and an ease. And we can remember, how is that feeling when we open our minds, open our hearts, and relax our gut? To expect to stay in some kind of place forever is hoping for a static existence. There isn't such a thing. And to hope that we would just stay there unconsciously, without any vigilance, is hoping that we get controlled. But instead, we can reconnect with that which we know in our deepest selves. And then as we connect with that which we know in our deepest selves, we find that spark of lightness, and we nourish it by gently letting go of the work of all that extra thought and staying focused in this lightness, letting it come to the foreground, savoring it, sinking into it, marinating in the lightness that we know is our depth of truth, our true being. Any of the guided meditations on this channel are ways to do that. And rather than hoping for something static, that, I hope I just get stuck in joy, rather, we have this human experience because it's an opportunity to experience the going back and forth. So instead of hoping to get stuck in joy, we learn how to move easily from concern back to joy, from concern back to joy. It's a wonderful fluidity to have. So when the concern comes up, we develop this skill to see, right, I'm holding on to a false idea. I've given away my joy and traded it for the work of holding on to this difficult idea. It really is a lot of work to hold on to our concepts and our expectations. It takes a lot of holding inside of our bodies. It takes a lot of rehearsing things in our heads. It takes a lot of interpreting the things that happen to make them align into our beliefs when reality is much more benevolent. So as we learn to relax all of that, we can develop this skill of fluidity, of flowing back and forth from concern to joy, concern to joy. And then we can quit working with all those thoughts, quit holding them. They finally just start to become too heavy, too silly, too obviously false. And we find we're doing naturally what we wanted to do. Because that's our deepest desire. We're just acquiescing to our deepest desire. When we acquiesce to our deepest desire, we relax. We let go. We notice the peace that's already always here. This is an acquiescing to our deepest desire. And instead of holding a static idea of where we want to be, we find this fluidity. We discover that what we are is not threatened by any of our thoughts, is curious, wants to understand them and unravel them. It's only our attachment to comfort that wants to toss it all away and find the peace. But the more we discover that what we are is peace, that when it comes upon a burdensome idea, there's this curiosity that wants to understand and unravel. Because it's our deepest desire to let the lightness have its fuller expression, to quit the work of holding the thought. So we acquiesce to our deepest desire and settle into what we deeply know. We know that we're infinite, boundless, naturally connected, naturally love, naturally cherishing. You know how good it feels to look ourselves in the mirror and say, thank you, I love you? That's because that's our deepest desire. That's our nature. It feels good because that's our nature. So as we allow ourselves the space to just acquiesce to our deepest desire, acquiesce to that which wants to love, wants to open, wants to relax, wants to release, and stop working at all the protection, then we gain that fluidity. So we act in the world, we can feel the cherishing, and then an impact comes where there's conditioning. The impact can be somebody saying something where catches us off guard, and we start to protect. It could be somebody saying we made a mistake at work, or it could be a loved one saying that we didn't show up for them the way they wanted us to, or it could be somebody canceling on us. Whatever it is, there's the instinctual protection, and we can question, but do I really need it otherwise? Can I give them the freedom to be exactly as they are and discover the peace, the joy, the love, without needing any conditions from them? It's so light, it's so free. So we go into the world, we have those moments where we're finding that protection rising up, and then we just ask the question, can I give them the freedom? Can I give this circumstance the freedom to be exactly as it is? Sure, I may engage with it and co-create the next moment and the next moment by some kind of interaction. But right now, as it is, can my joy remain primary, my love remain primary, may my infinite being remain primary. And we just notice that there's a growing development of fluidity that doesn't work so hard to control and protect. Instead, it just honors this that we know at the deepest level. And it becomes a habit, so that that experience that we had starts to fill out into more and more areas of our life, because we knowingly recognize when we've added on the extra layers, and we knowingly recognize how to let them go. And then it's not an unconscious falling into, but rather it's a wise knowing. Oh, this is what this knowing is. You know, we only knew in that moment how it felt, how good we felt, how peaceful, how joyful, how light. But now we know it even better. We know, oh, in this place, it means other people are free to criticize me. Other people are free to need something from me that I can't provide. The world is free to go about its way, and yet there's a rootedness in infinite being. And now we know this rootedness in infinite being in a much more complete way, because we know how it relates to circumstances and people who disagree. So I can't give all the tools in this one video, but each of the videos is another tool that helps us return to this deeper knowing of what we are. That's the most natural, the most easeful, the most simple way of being. And as we cultivate that fluidity, we actually know it better than if we had just kind of landed there forever.